Hello, my name is Johan Falk. I work at NodeOne, Scandinavia. We have offices in Stockholm, Gothenburg and Copenhagen, Denmark, so we are now officially outside Sweden as well. Growing, growing, growing. You are watching the second episode of the screencast series where we learn the rules framework. If you head over to NodeOne.se/learn-Drupal, you'll get to our Drupal learning library. We have quite a few screencasts or learning series, each containing a number of screencasts or episodes or exercises or something that you can watch and go through to learn Drupal and use Drupal in a good way. You are, of course, very welcome to do that. All our content in the library is published under Creative Commons license, so feel free to reuse that on your own site, spread the word, embed it, well, yeah, things like that. We also have a book, Drupal 7 The Essentials, you can get from your local Amazon store if you want to do that. This book, as well as most of the content in our Drupal learning library, concerns Drupal configuration and site building, which is the way you should start learn Drupal, because there is so much you can do without coding, and using configuration means that you reuse others' code, and you can also find way of writing more efficient code yourself, even if you want to code. If you're not a coder, but a theme or a project manager or something else, you should still definitely learn how to configure basic stuff in Drupal, because that allows you to understand the framework much better, and really it's not that difficult. If you're one of those guys, at least have a look at the Learn Drupal 7 screencast series. It's quite good, and I very much recommend the Views screencast series, Taming the Beast. That's a good one. Pretty long though. Right, but we are here to learn the rules framework, and here's our sandbox site that we used in the previous screencast. This episode we're going to look at data types and rules and the thing called data selection, which is a really cool thing. I'm going to show you that right away. Let's head over to configuration and workflow and rules. Here is the reaction rule I created in the previous screencast. I'm gonna add a new rule that I'm going to use just to display stuff. Well, I'm going to trigger that on article display. When we view content, some things will happen. It's not really a good use case for this right now. Well, the thing I'm going to show you, it's just a pedagogical thing. All right, so this will be example rule on content view, on viewing content. Like that. I can add tags, but I don't want to. And I'm going to react on the event content is viewed. This means that this rule will fire every time a piece of content is viewed or being built for view, I think, which I am pretty sure will also make it react here on the front page where we have teasers being built. Content is viewed, and then we're going to look at say, yeah, let's try this. In conditions, add condition, there is something here called data comparison, which kind of covers 90% of all the conditions that you want to do with rules. That's pretty silly, but they're all it's ridiculously efficient. Well, let's have a look at that data comparison. Continue. All right, this allows you to compare two pieces of data. And that might not seem very much right now, but if we look at this data selector thing, it says, well, you should select which piece of data you want to compare, and I'm going to help you with it. It says you have three base objects available. You have the site thingy here, you have the node, the viewed content, and there's also something here called view mode that at least some months ago was broken, so I'm not going to use that. And I can compare the node itself if I want to, compare it to another node or something. or I could use this node and drill down into the node information. And here we have a lot of things. We have, well, different data that is stored in the node and exposed to rules. This is used by, well, most of this I think is exposed to rules through the Entity API module, which is a really cool thing. It allows you to just declare what kind of entities you have on your site, and rules will pick that up automatically. Pretty nice. It's also possible to extend this data specifically for rules if you want to. I think, well, this is made in a way that other modules can use it as well. You declare data types and data properties for data types, so rules can pick it up. All right, and here we see we have a lot of different information, like the node ID. URL is apparently something that is present as a property for this node. Here is something pretty interesting. We have the node author, and then this is a little bit gray here. It means that you can drill down into this one as well, and then get properties from this author as well. This is from the node object. We fetch a user object, and then we can have, say, the user email or something. We can compare that to whatever we want to. If I just continue here, it says, okay, you want to compare the node author mail to what? It should be equal to, say, Johan.falk@NodeOne.se, which happens, no, I think it's root@example.com that I use for the root account here. Here as well, we can use replacement patterns, which are standard tokens, long list here. But we could switch to data selection, which hides this standard text input field and gives us this drop-down thing that guides us through the available data types. So you can, for example, check that the author mail is equal to the site mail that we use. We could have something else here. Site URL might or might not work. Let's actually, well, I'm going to try this soon, because this is something pretty important that rules does as well. It knows what kind of data this is, the mail here. It could be just a text string. Right now that's probably what it is, and the site URL is probably a link, a URL, not a text string according to rules, which means that these are not of the same type, and rules would not accept this. Let's try that. Ah, okay, I was wrong. Let's edit it. But we could, for example, if I hide this, no, I can't even select the node here, because rules knows that the node here is of the wrong type. Let's try to save this. Yeah, it says, sorry, the data type of the configured argument does not match the parameter value requirement. So it says that you should have some text string data type here, so you can select the node. That's very useful. You can provide rules with more data types if you want to, if you're a coder, and modules that you install may provide new data types to rules, of course. Right, that means it's tea time. Sorry. All right. So that's probably the, well, to summarize what I want to say here, you have a lot of, well, in rules you work with data types, and you can drill down into data types using this data selection thingy, and fetch information inside other objects as well. And let's see here, I have this node author mail here, but if let's just copy this. If I switch to direct input mode, I have the replacement patterns here instead. So I could build my value on tokens combined with static text. But in this list, I don't have the node author mail token, but I can actually enter that anyway. Node author mail, because I think this is a general Drupal 7 property, I can chain tokens after each other if there are of the correct type. Right, cool. So let's check that the node author mail is equal to the node author mail. That's kind of a simple condition. And now I'm gonna set an action here. There is a similar action to the compare data in conditions that is called set a data value. That allows you to set properties for the data objects you have in rules. Set the data value. When we view the node we want the data value to be set, what do we want to set? Well, say in the node viewed content I want to change the body field. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, body. Main body text, continue. What should it be? Well, let's have it like this. I'm gonna just put a plus in front of it and then add the node body. Let's see if that works. So I add a plus in front of the body every time it's being viewed. Save. Right, let's actually try this now. I'm pretty curious. Let's look at NodeOne. Alright, we might have triggered something right now. If I reload, then it should... okay, so it kind of worked, except that this token wasn't really evaluated, which is probably reflected by the fact here when I edit the action that I don't have any replacement patterns here. I could switch to data selection like that. That's probably because this is filtered text and this goes through text formats here. Right, but you get the idea. I could probably have done this with a title instead. And you should see here the different properties we have for the data objects. Some of them you cannot set. For example, if I add an action here, set the data value again, I cannot, for example, change the node ID. That's fixed for this entity and cannot be changed once saved. So I will get an error message here. Yeah, the selected data property doesn't support writing. This is, as far as I know, entity API just providing this information to rules. So rules just stands on top of entity API and allows you to do a lot of cool things in a quite slick way. Other things that you cannot change, for example, site. We cannot change, I think, the site name. Let's see. No, we cannot change the site name, which should possibly, well, maybe be possible to do from rules, but as this data is declared, you cannot do it. Right. So I'm going to show you one more thing before we're done with this screencast. I have, well, if we want to change, say, well, let's just have a look. The viewed node has fields, but we don't see them right here. Let's have a look. Structure, content types, article, manage fields. We have tags, body, and field image, but we can't see them here, which is kind of strange. They should be available to rules, and they are, but rules doesn't know what kind of node we're watching right now. Content is viewed, and if we want to change an article, we have to know that it is an article, right? And let's actually not do the well, let's do the article thing here. The way to do this is to add a condition to rules saying, well, letting rules know that we are in fact working with an article here. So I can add a condition. There are two ways of doing this. This is pretty important, so listen up. The first one is that you check content is of type, which is useful for nodes but not for general entities. if you want to do that for general entities, you should have this. Entity has field. Let's try that. Now, rules expect us to enter an entity in here. Doing a data selector here, I'm selecting the viewed content. Rules knows, or entity API knows, I guess, that nodes are entities. So it will accept a node here, even though it's asking for an entity, a general entity. It should have the field, let's say field image. Yeah. Now let's take field text. I'm going to show you some cool things about multiple value fields and lists in the next screencast. So let's introduce that a bit now. Enter as field tags. Then I can add an action here. And here I'm going to actually show a message on the site. I'm not going to change that field right now. Switch to data selection. Now we get something that is a bit broken UI wise, but hey, okay, node : now we should have the field. Yeah, here it is. Node field tags. Now available because we have told rules that we need this. Well, if this action is executed, that we have this field. And here you can see that we have selection here for the first, second, third, and so on tag on the node, because this is a multiple value field. Okay, so field tags 0, and here we get well, options for this. We should have tag name. Yeah. All right. So what's happening here is that we start with a node, we move on through the tag field, pick out the first tag, then we have all of a sudden a taxonomy term object, not a node object, and we can fetch its name here because Entity API knows how these are related, and the term reference field here allows us to fetch the related term without having to load it first and get things like that. Cool. Save. Content is viewed. So I should now have alpha here being displayed as a message. Yeah, first tag. Cool. These are things you can do with rules. Let's actually see here. I created bogus, a dummy content type that points to an article. I have the node reference field provided by the references module. And you can do the same thing as I did here with taxonomy references, term references with node references. So you can, in the tokens or the data selectors, go from the node following this node reference field and get information about the the referenced nodes. And that's darn useful. Yeah. That is, I think, it for this this episode. Let's summarize that. You have, well, rules stands on top of Entity API that provides a lot of data to rules about properties that entities have and also relations between entities in some cases. Most of this data is provided to rules from Entity API, but there's also quite a few things that rules provides to itself. Data type wise. For example, rules knows that strings are strings and dates are dates and nodes are nodes. Also knows that nodes and users are both entities, things like that. So and it knows what kind of properties are writable and what are not. So you can use data comparison, comparing two different data values, making sure that they are the same, and rules verifies that you have data of the same types. You can also set data values using this mechanism, which is very useful. It's a very handy way of doing that. Right. That's it for this screencast. We're going to look at more data and things in the next screencast, because then we'll work with loops and multiple value value fields and what's called lists in rules. See you there. Goodbye.